Gridlife Rush Series, race number 4 from Gridlife, South Carolina and Carolina Motorsports Park, waiting for the green flag to fly. Waiting. There it goes. Green flag and we're underway. Already 3 wide there with a big run up the inside. Down towards turn 1. Leach and Vocal side by side of the first corner there, Blair.
Man, this is awesome. You know, Ryan did exactly what he needed to do. Pushed Andy out into 1. Now he just has to run his race.
Getting filtered out here through turn number 3. The track pinches tight here between some big curbs. There's the 227 of AJ Campo, who had some trouble earlier this weekend, but he's rebounded. Looks like Leach leads Vocal up into turns 5 and 6, and it's Bratz, and I think that's the 33 of Ethan Alexander there, right behind that red number 7.
This is exactly what we wanted to see. We wanted a full, clean lap 1. Hopefully we see it all the way to the end, and get the full racing laps in and start seeing some really, you know, the draft here is big, right? Especially in these cars, as much aero as they have. You'll start seeing Andy and Nico and even Ethan Alexander sort of closing up to that front group.
Yeah, TJ Hunt closing into some of his teammates just up ahead there, a little side-by-side deeper in the field. You talked about the draft. How far back can you get that as far as tenths of a second? Is 5-6 tenths?
Yeah, you know, even call it 2 or 3 car lengths starts really making a big difference. You see Andy closing up a lot there in the braking zone. You know, you have the monkey in front of you and now you can chase him, right? So, you know, Andy's going to see where Ryan's faster. You know, Andy's talented, track mod champion, race radicals. He's going to adapt throughout the race and figure out how to find those last little bit of tenths to bring the fight towards the end of the race, I think.
Yeah, it was a 3-horse race for first place for most of the weekend between the 56, the 34, and the 7. But Ethan Alexander giving Bratz a pretty big run for his money. Then James French in that number 70. We talked about him and his career in endurance racing. Has a couple of 24-hour victories there. So similar machinery as far as feel, downforce. He's right at home in this Rush SR car.
Yeah, I think James was kind of my dark horse coming into this weekend. You see him trying to set up a move here into 1 on Ethan Alexander, and he makes it work. You know, James, I think is really
little contact, little argy-bargy there, side by side through turn 2. And again, it's a pinch point because the track goes left, right, left, and you're sort of shooting this gap between the curbing, and he couldn't quite finish the pass. He'll have to try it up and size him up somewhere else.
And that's what's been so awesome about the Rush SR Series. I mean, you got James French and Ethan Alexander racing. I mean, James, who has the pedigree, resume, racing the Daytona 24 hours. Ethan, super young guy, super nice. The family's awesome, and out here, you know, you get different walks of life, all racing and battling out, going bumper to bumper. It's been really fun to watch.
So chasing each other down towards turn 8, so French was able to complete that pass. Little wiggle on the braking there. Tell me about the braking in these cars, because they're obviously very lightweight, so the braking performance is very good. But the brake bias feels like a very important thing to dial in.
Absolutely, and brake bias is completely driver dependent, right? Some people like a little bit more rear brake. Personally, myself, I like to get the car to kind of kick into the corner. Some people like the car to dive in and have a really bunch of front grip going in. We leave brake pads open in the series. You know, it is a spec series, but brake pads are very driver dependent. So you see lots of very different entry styles, depending, especially in these fast top 5. You know, they all kind of have their own driving style, make it work in certain parts of the track, and you kind of get the accordion effect, where it works for some, where it doesn't work for others.
This battle for 4th place has been pretty fierce. Ethan Alexander lost his spot last time around, but he's following James French, who kicks out the rear. This is not over yet.
No, you can see James really likes that first gear in the last corner. He really used the torque, and that time maybe cracked the throttle a little bit, focusing on Nico Bratz in front. But yeah, don't count out James. Race 1, they made the decision to go to the dry tires when the weather was up in the air. Didn't pay off, and the front went with the wets. I think we'll start seeing James really sort of close in, try to keep up with that front 3 that have kind of walked away with it this weekend.
So one car pulled off to the left there at the exit of turn 3, but well out of harm's way, so we'll continue with green flag racing there. So James French kicking out the rears, giving a boot of the throttle, 147-ish horsepower there, leaving turn 14 up onto the rumble strips. Tell me about the compliance of these cars on the curbs, because they're quite tall around here.
They are, although, you know, with how much aero and mechanical grip the cars have, you would think it kind of bounces off and really upsets the car, really, you know, kind of goes airborne for a second and bites really hard on the ground. You know, you see people have done shifter cars. Everybody hops over the curbs. Very similar to this. You see Ryan taking that curb in the kink just to shorten up the track into the brake zone. It didn't really upset the car very much.
Andy Vocal gained a lot in the braking zone. That was one of the things he told me last night. He was going to mess with his brake bias, adjust it, try to get some more performance out of the car to keep Ryan Leach right ahead of him here. He feels like he can match him in most areas of the racetrack, but the braking was the area where he felt he was a little better. So trying to find your advantage the best place he can. It was about 0.6 of a second between the two the last time around. Still about 10 minutes to go, so he's got some time to analyze that lead car and figure out what he can do to beat him.
Definitely, and with the new point structure we're running this year in Gridlife, mimicking the GLTC structure, it's all about clean racing, right? So, you know, you may see Ryan be a little bit more reserved here in this race and just try to bring it home, where Andy's got a point to prove. You know, he came into the weekend and put it on pole for race 1, and, you know, Ryan really started dialing in the car, dialing the setup, and frankly himself. I think Andy's trying to, you know, prove his point that he's here and he belongs right there at the front of the Gridlife Rush Series.
Little battle back here, a bit deeper in the field. There's the 144 of Nate Hamilton, and that's Wilson in the 188 right behind him, closing in here for a battle for 8th.
Yeah, these, you know, all these drifters coming in the series, it's been really, really cool to watch. You know, we've got experience from James French and Andy.
Oh, a little smoke there. Sorry there, Blair. Someone locked up heading in up into 5 and 6. It was TJ Hunt and Grant Anderson also battling for position. That's a battle for 10th. TJ Hunt, Grant Anderson, and Evan Shanks in a line. That's going to be a great battle.
Oh, and you know, they've got points to prove. They're all friends, and, you know, they want to be the one that wins, right? Yeah. So I think we're going to see a really, really fun battle. Now, you got to remember they're all teammates and got to bring the car home. But we all know these guys are going to put on a show for us here at the end, I think.
Matt Wilson side by side with Nate Hamilton through the kink. High speed right-hander at the limit of grip there. And Wilson powers on through. We'll see if the 144 can respond. And big curb jump there for the 188. See if Hamilton can cross over and under here. Big lateral slide kicking out the rear. These things look like so much fun to drive.
And you can tell Nate is not scared to let the rear end hang. You know, all these drift guys, they know what a limit is. Especially you saw it in the wet. TJ put on an amazing performance in the wet. Just, you know, the car was free. It was working for me. He was comfortable with no grip. And now that we're in the dry, you know.
Oh, here we go. Matt Wilson slips out of 14. Here comes Nate Hamilton up the right side. It's on the wrong side of the road to make this pass at turn 1, but if he can hang there, turn 2 might be the place. He's going to cross over to the left, maybe lunge up the inside at turn 1.
He's going for it. He was smart there, you know. He has the speed. He's going to have to draft down the back straight, you know. With Nate, it's all about racecraft now and learning when is the right place to make the move. You know, he has the pace, and these drift guys have been awesome to work with. They understand data super well. They understand car control, and now it's just dialing in, you know, that lack of racing experience and, you know, starting to really make a push this year to be consistent, be smooth, and be fast and make the right decisions, stay up there in the front, and have a really good run in the championship this year.
Yeah, Matt Wilson driving that thing sideways there, leading a handful of those Rapscallion cars, couple Sunoco logos on the hoods of those things. You see TJ Hunt under fire from Grant Anderson. They've actually closed up on Nate Hamilton just a little bit while they were battling with Matt Wilson, so opportunities perhaps, but looks like Grant Anderson is clearly in the slipstream of TJ Hunt now, so TJ will have to watch those rear views.
And they'll definitely be smart, you know. They see Matt Wilson kind of pulling away here, and like I said, all these guys are teammates, and they'll work together. You know, we've been talking about the draft a little bit and how to use it and how to work together and help the guy in front of you go faster.
Whoop, TJ Hunt's got a problem on the left. He's going to swing. Actually, I wonder if that was coordinated there. He's going to let Grant Anderson through. He was feeling some pressure, perhaps. He's going to battle Evan Shanks a little bit too, but maybe felt like Grant was the better locomotive to pull the train back up to Nate Hamilton.
Potentially. Grant's been driving smooth all weekend. This is probably the best I've seen Grant. As you see TJ going for a move on Evan.
This is so fun to watch these guys get at it. TJ's a little wide at the exit, onto the curbing. Evan Shanks slams that throttle pedal down, and they're door to door, side pod to side pod down the front straightaway.
These guys have been going side by side for the last 10 years together. TJ and Evan are super close friends. We see Evan getting really close there in the braking zone, and you know they're out there having fun with each other.
TJ again slotting over to the left. Evan Shanks goes on through and slots in behind Shanks, so that will move the 53 car up one position into 11th spot, but the battle will continue now.
One thing they have done is allowed Brett DiGiacomo and who's that behind them in the white car? Bill Wright out of Florida to really kind of close up in. And, you know, these guys are super experienced. Bill has extensive background in karting, running the Florida Winter Tour for a while. And Brett is an avid sim racer, has multiple sim championships. And they'll be there ready to race with these guys.
Yeah, a bit of a battle deeper in the field here as well. I love watching this angle of the brake lights come on as everyone chooses their line for the opening corner. Battles all through the field. The car that we saw off to the inside looked like the Team Ed Alzheimer's racing car, and that's Bill Slepsky and his son Alex. So they've been working with this team, and Of course, they've been working with End Alzheimer's Motorsports and raising awareness about Alzheimer's disease and raise funds to fight it, running as a team entry here this weekend. But something's gone a little bit wrong for them, and they're down at the bottom of the order. But it's been a fun weekend to watch those guys slice and dice.
And we were talking before this, Kyle. We've got a really good movement inside the Gridlife Rush Series. You guys see the pink cars with Jeremy Boyson and AJ Campo. These guys have a foundation called Rush for the Cure, and it's trying to raise awareness for breast cancer. And they're doing it for the right cause. So they're out there having fun, but with the right message as well.
Evan Shanks and TJ Hunt going back at it down the front straightaway. We saw that standing yellow going down into turn 8. Evan Shanks takes the defensive line. TJ goes up the outside for the first corner. Side by side into turn 1, and it's going to bring Bill Wright right into the mix here. 3-car race for 11th place.
I tell you what, Evan Shanks for his first race definitely is not showing that he's a rookie. He's out there blocking properly, taking the right lines, running his own race. Knows TJ's behind him.
Well, trouble for the 59. That's Larry Brady, and he's gone off. Trying to see if that's turn. I think that's the exit of turn 8. So he's definitely had some contact. And that's what that yellow is for at sector 2.
It almost looks like the front dug down into that sand and maybe tore the front clip off a little bit. So hopefully he wasn't involved with another car there.
Yeah, hopefully. One of the things we've been talking about this weekend is we see again that yellow flag displayed for the turn 8 incident. You know, these cars are really robust. We've seen a couple little side-by-side argy-bargy moments here and there, but these cars are so strong that it really doesn't take a lot to get them back straight for the next race.
No, and the biggest thing about Rush is we want to make racing, grassroots motorsport what it kind of used to be. And we want to be inexpensive and fun and for everybody to do. So here at Rush Auto Works, we really strive on bringing part costs down and operation costs down. And everybody is friends with everyone here in the paddock too. So if it looks like you're not making a race, the next guy over in the paddock will come over and help you rebuild your car. And we just have a really, really fun community out here.
Yeah, for sure. Evan Shanks and TJ Hunt continue to battle. The one place they won't be able to make passes is down into turn 8 with that standing yellow flag, but the battle continues. It is an absolute bare-knuckle brawl between these two. TJ throttles up, runs out to the curbing. Maybe he'll try to poke left into turn 1 with this big run.
And just going back to what we talked earlier, Ryan's doing the exact game plan he needed. He's pulled out a 3-second gap on Andy Vogel. Ryan is last year's champion, and he's ready to prove a point that he can do it again, and probably made some setup changes and also some driving style changes into this 4th race. The guys at the front know, and they're not complacent with their lap times. Even if they win, they want to go faster, and Ryan's doing exactly what he needed to do in this race.
So while Bill Wright was hounding TJ and Evan Shanks, they've once again sort of dispatched that white car for a moment. TJ getting by the 53, throttling up, and he'll put some distance on him here. A little bit of a battle deeper in the field as well, leaving turn 3 at the moment. Big wiggle there for the blue car.
And we'll see Bill Wright and Brett DiGiacomo are both out of Florida. They drive down at the firm together, and you may start seeing these guys towards the end of the race work together and start drafting about how we talked about earlier, and try to close back up to these Sunoco boys and try to make a move for them at the end here.
It's Jake Sanders in that leading orange and black car in a pretty fierce battle there with, is that the 17 or is that the 129? It looks like the 17 potentially. No, it's the 129. Sorry about that.
Another name we haven't talked about there in 6th place, Jalen Batley. This is also his first ever race as well. He's gotten together with the Diversion Motorsports crew out of Wisconsin. He's teammates with Ryan Leach, Nico Bratz, Ethan Alexander. So has really good mentors and some fast guys to do some data with. But he's putting on a phenomenal show. He's been up there in the top 6 all weekend long and is driving amazing.
Yeah, he's doing a great job there. And anyone that's in the top 10 here in this series is really doing an amazing job. We saw really an incredibly deep talent pool in this series last year, and it's only continuing to get better and better and better as the grid sizes come up. We saw a grid of over 40 cars at Road America last year. We're expecting similar to that throughout this season as well. So just really excited to watch the battles continue here. Is this for 5th place in that battle you were talking about with Batley, and I think that's Alexander in the 33.
Yeah, Jalen's going to make a move. One thing we got to remember, like the Sunoco guys we were watching earlier, these guys are teammates. So Jalen, a top 5 in his first ever race. We may start seeing him try to set up a move here and have a nice accomplishment at the end of the weekend to go home and be proud of.
Through the kink here, high speed, little side-by-side deeper in the field. There's battles everywhere.
I think we're starting to see some lap traffic. That's Andy Vogel and John Howe. This could get pretty close. Maybe you see Nico Bratz close up here on Andy Vogel if he can dispatch of John Howe here quickly.
Leaders through turn 14. I would expect to see a a white flag this time based on our time, and we do see it. So that's the final lap of the race. This time through, Ryan Leach is out front. Andy Vogel in second place, but there's lap traffic. How will that affect the battle for fifth place with Ethan Alexander and Batley?
Yeah, it's up for second and for fifth. I mean, you see Nico closed up there on Andy Vogel a bit. James French is there in the mix, and you know this second through fifth battle could get here really dicey here on the last couple corners.
Yeah, a couple of seconds. Yeah, that Alexander and Batley battle, only 2/10 between those two cars. The blue and white car now in fifth and sixth place. Here they come into the shot here in a moment's time after the lap traffic comes on through. There's a look at the 300 car as well. That is Grant Ellis, who had a little bit of trouble earlier in the weekend, but going to get through this race. Looks like 22nd place for now.
It could get interesting, too. You don't know where these guys went with tire pressures. Some people may want their car to come in later here in the race, and now this lap traffic has kind of messed up top five. We'll see if those decisions work and maybe make a really good push here in the last couple corners.
Yeah, there's Wright, and again, that's DiGiacomo right behind him in a pretty exciting battle just outside of the top 10. That's currently for 13th place, and there's Evan Shanks once again on debut in the Gridlife Rush Series. Had a little scrap there with TJ Hunt for a while, but TJ set sail and trying to run down Grant Anderson as we watch Wright and DiGiacomo go back at it here. A car length between these two on the final lap.
This one's going to be fun. These guys are super fun to hang out with in paddock, and they're super clean racers, but they're super experienced. So they're going to be battling here probably in the turn 11 and see if Brett can get it done under the braking.
Checkered flag, Ryan Leach, 4 for 4 this weekend, dominates the Gridlife Rush Series and wins by a comfortable margin over Andy Vogel, who had Nico Bratz right behind him in the closing stages. He ran him down from a long ways back. Then it was James French who crosses the line in fourth place, about 7.5 seconds back. And then Ethan Alexander and Batley battle comes to the stripe, and I think they have stayed in that order, but it was very close. Alexander just nabs that top 5 by 0.2 of a second.
That was really close there. It was probably, you said 0.2 of a second.
Yeah.
It was a really good show for Jalen Batley in his first race. There's nothing to be upset with him. He'll go into Road Atlanta with some confidence and hopefully try to make a push for the top 5.
Yeah, crossing the line there, Hughes in 7th, Hamilton in 8th, then Matt Wilson, and then Grant Anderson just holding off TJ Hunt for a top 10. There'll be some bragging rights post-race for that one. And look at this, 3 wide across the stripe. Evan Shanks got knocked down to 13th right at the end there.
Oh, that was with Brett DiGiacomo and Bill Wright. I told you guys they were going to be pushing towards at the end of the race there and made for a good show.
Yeah, what a battle there. But Ryan Leach, let's talk about him for a second. And the point structure more closely representing what we've got in IBOC GLTC this year. But Ryan Leach is going to walk out of here with maximum points effectively.
Absolutely. He's, didn't get the pole. Andy Vogel got the 3 points for a qualifying position, but won every single race. So really good for the championship. He did exactly what he needed to do. Last year's champion, he had some confidence coming into this one. He's going to be even more confident going to Road Atlanta.
I wonder for Andy Vogel as well, does this just increase the hunger for the next round of the championship?
I think it does. He's definitely going to have a point to prove now. He's fast. We all see that. He's super experienced and is a great racer as well. So it'll be really, really fun to see the battle going into Atlanta. And as we head up north, start getting some more tracks that are closer home for Nico Bratz. So might see Nico be the one in Ryan Leach's position, start leading, and everybody's chasing him now.
Yeah, there's your results on the left-hand side of the screen. We talked about the top 10. TJ Hunt just outside of it, 11th place in the number 28 car. Again, only his second weekend of competition. Then Bill Wright, Evan Shanks, Brett DiGiacomo, Reed in the 256, then Boysen in 16th. Also his debut event. He's renting this weekend, but he has an SR on the way from, as I understand it. So excited to see him in his own equipment for the next round of competition. And he did a pretty nice job here this weekend, just getting accustomed to this car.
Absolutely, especially when you're renting too. It's not your own equipment. You're not fully comfortable with it. I think we'll see when he gets his car, he gets it fully fitted for him, and he starts getting some seat time in and practicing. Definitely started seeing his name a little farther up in the grid in the Gridlife Rush Series.
Yeah, of course, Lee, Sanders, and a handful of others. Saw the 17 of Howe a little further up the order. I wonder if he had gotten looped around at some point. Thought he was in a battle a little further up the grid. But field heads back to the paddock, and they'll load things up and head on to the next round of competition. And Blair, it's a full year for the Gridlife Rush Series. What's our next event?
Yeah, so we're heading to Road Atlanta, and at Road Atlanta we'll be unveiling the Rush SRX Series. Our national championship is 6 rounds for the SR, 6 rounds for the SRX, but Gridlife Rush will be at all 9 races this year. So we're super excited to be doing a full year with Gridlife. We made the debut back in 2023 at Laguna, did the full year in 2024, and we can't wait for this year. It's a partnership that we're super happy about and don't want it to end. We're loving every moment of it right now.
Cannot wait for it. Of course, Gridlife Rush Series race number 4, it was thrilling all the way through. Battles really from second on back in most of the field. Great look at the paddock here on a Sunday afternoon. It is absolutely picture perfect out here at Gridlife, South Carolina, Blair.
What a day. I mean, what a weekend. You know, the racing was super clean there, and then that's how we want to end off the weekend.
Let's take a look at our highlights for Gridlife's Rush Series race number 4. It all began rolling off the grid, getting set to go racing here at South Carolina, warming up the tires and ready for action. Andy Vogel said he had something for Ryan Leach and he had to put it on display in the opening laps of the race. But as Ryan Leach established himself out front, looks like Vogel was unable to get around him. Great battles in the mid-pack, though, all the way through the opening laps, side by side here. Running back around, and you see Nico Bratz there in the red number 7, trying to give Andy Vogel a run for that silver place here in Gridlife Rush Series. Then jump of the curb at turn number 10. Things got a little spicy here between Ethan Alexander and James French in the number 70. They went back and forth a couple of times, especially after this big slide from the driver in that black and blue number 70 machine. A little bit of battles between TJ Hunt, Grant Anderson, and Evan Shanks. For even farther down the order, there was some fights a little bit deeper in the field as well. Back to the battle with the Rapscallion boys, slicing and dicing for the entire duration of the race. TJ Hunt had a momentary issue here where Grant Anderson slid around him, and so did Evan Shanks, but the battle continued between those two drivers in their Gridlife Rush Series debut, at least for Shanks, but checkered flag for Ryan Leach, 4 for 4 on the weekend here at Gridlife, South Carolina. The Gridlife Rush Series, race 4, complete here at Gridlife, South Carolina, round 1 of 9 for 2025.